The 9 container gardening mistakes that kill your plants and how to fix them. Your beautiful container plants keep dying and you can't figure out why. The leaves turn yellow overnight, the soil feels like a swamp, or worse, your plants just sit there doing absolutely nothing for months. Sound familiar? I'm Sam, and here on Seniors Gardening Advice, I've helped thousands of gardeners transform their dying containers into thriving plant paradises. The shocking truth? Most plant deaths aren't caused by bad luck or lack of skill. They're caused by 9 simple mistakes that 95% of gardeners make without knowing it. If you're ready to stop killing plants and start growing like a pro, smash that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Trust me, by the end of this video, you'll know exactly why your plants have been struggling and how to fix every single problem starting tomorrow.
The reality check. Container gardening seems simple, right? Just put a plant in a pot, add some water, and watch it grow. Wrong. Container plants face completely different challenges than ground plants, and most gardeners treat them exactly the same way. That's where everything goes sideways. When you grow plants in containers, you become their entire world. You control their water supply, their nutrition, their drainage, even their sunlight exposure. One small mistake in any of these areas, and your plants suffer. Make several mistakes at once, game over. But here's the exciting part. Once you understand these 9 critical errors and how to avoid them, container gardening becomes incredibly rewarding. Your plants will grow bigger, produce more flowers or vegetables, and stay healthy all season long. Whether you're growing colorful flowers for your patio, fresh herbs for your kitchen, or vegetables for your table, these fixes will change everything. Drop a seed in the comments right now if you've ever wondered why your container plants keep disappointing you. Don't worry, you're about to become a container gardening expert.
Mistake number 1, the drainage disaster that drowns your plants. Let's start with the most deadly mistake of all, poor drainage. This silent killer destroys more container plants than any other problem, yet most gardeners never see it coming. Here's what happens when drainage fails. You water your plant with the best intentions. The water goes into the soil, but it has nowhere to escape. It sits at the bottom of the pot like a stagnant pond. Your plant's roots, which need both water and oxygen to survive, start suffocating in this waterlogged mess. Within days or weeks, root rot sets in. The roots turn brown and mushy, the stems become weak, and the leaves turn yellow before falling off. The most frustrating part, you might think your plant needs more water because it looks sick, so you water it again. This makes the problem 10 times worse. The fix. First rule of container gardening, every single pot must have drainage holes in the bottom, no exceptions. Those gorgeous decorative planters you see at the garden center, half of them have no holes. If you fall in love with a pot that lacks drainage, grab a drill with a masonry bit and create your own holes. Your plants' lives depend on it. But here's where many gardeners go wrong next. They think adding gravel or rocks to the bottom of the pot improves drainage. This old myth actually makes drainage worse by creating a water table higher up in the soil. Skip the rocks completely. Instead, use high-quality potting mix and rely on those bottom holes to do their job. Pro tip from my years of experience, elevate your container slightly using pot feet, bricks, or wooden blocks. This prevents water from pooling under the pot and ensures gravity can pull excess moisture away from your plant's roots. The test: water your container thoroughly. If water doesn't start flowing out the bottom within a few seconds, you have a drainage problem that needs immediate attention.
Mistake number 2 is using garden soil, the container plant killer. Garden soil works beautifully in garden beds where earthworms keep it loose and natural drainage systems prevent waterlogging. But scoop that same soil into a container and you've just created a death trap for your plants. Garden soil is heavy and dense. In a container, it compacts down like concrete, squeezing out all the air spaces that roots desperately need to breathe. Without oxygen, roots suffocate and die. Garden soil also holds water unevenly in containers. Some spots become soggy marshes, while other areas turn bone dry. The fix? Always use proper potting mix designed specifically for containers. Quality potting mixes contain ingredients like peat moss or coir that hold just the right amount of moisture, plus perlite or vermiculite that keeps the soil light and well draining. Many also include slow-release fertilizer to give your plants a healthy start. Want to create your own perfect blend? Try this recipe I've perfected over the years. Mix 2 parts quality potting soil, 1 part compost for nutrition, and 1 part perlite for drainage. This combination gives you complete control over both nutrition and water management. Here's a real-world example. Last season, I planted 2 identical tomato plants. One got regular garden soil, the other got proper potting mix. The garden soil plant stayed small and sickly all season, producing maybe 6 tiny tomatoes. The potting mix plant grew into a monster, completely filling its cage and producing over 40 large, juicy tomatoes. Same plant, same care, completely different results.
Mistake number 3. The wrong container size catastrophe. Size matters tremendously in container gardening, but most gardeners get it completely wrong in one of 2 ways. Too small. When containers are too small, roots quickly become pot-bound, circling around and around with nowhere to go. These strangled roots can't absorb water or nutrients properly, no matter how much care you provide. The plant becomes stunted and stressed. Too large. Containers that are too big create the opposite problem: excess soil that holds too much water. The plant's small root system can't use all that moisture, leading to soggy, oxygen-starved soil and root rot. The fix? Choose containers that are 2 to 4 inches wider than your plant's current root ball. This gives roots room to expand without drowning them in excess soil. As your plants grow, you can gradually move them to larger containers. For herbs like basil or cilantro, start with 6 to 8-inch pots and move up as needed. For vegetables like tomatoes or peppers, begin with 5-gallon containers minimum. They need the extra root space to support heavy fruit production. Visual cue: a properly sized plant should look proportional to its container. If the plant looks lost in a huge pot, or if it's obviously outgrowing its small container, it's time to make a change.
Mistake number 4. The fertilizer famine that starves your plants. Ground plants can send their roots out searching for nutrients across wide areas. Container plants only have access to what you put in their pot. Every time you water, nutrients wash out through those drainage holes we talked about. Over time, your soil becomes nutritionally empty, like trying to live on water alone. The result? Plants that start strong but gradually decline. Leaves turn pale yellow, growth slows to a crawl, and flowering or fruit production becomes disappointing. The fix: container plants need regular feeding throughout the growing season. Start by mixing slow-release fertilizer granules into your potting mix when planting. These break down gradually, providing steady nutrition for months. But don't stop there. Add liquid fertilizer every 2 to 3 weeks during active growth periods. Think of it as an energy boost that keeps your plants performing at their peak. Choose balanced fertilizers for most plants, high nitrogen formulas for leafy greens, or high phosphorus blends for flowering plants. Love organic gardening? Compost tea and fish emulsion work wonderfully for container plants while improving soil biology. Real example: I conducted an experiment with identical petunia plants last summer. One group received regular fertilization, the other group got none. Within 6 weeks, the fertilized plants were overflowing with colorful blooms, while the unfertilized plants looked tired and barely flowered. Same everything else, just different nutrition.
Mistake number 5. Overcrowding, when plants fight for survival. New gardeners often get excited and try to squeeze too many plants into each container. 6 seedlings in a pot meant for 2 seems like great value, right? Wrong. You've just created an underground battle zone. Below the soil, roots compete fiercely for the same limited water and nutrients. Above ground, overlapping leaves block sunlight and prevent air circulation.
This creates perfect conditions for plant stress, stunted growth, and disease problems like powdery mildew. The fix? Respect spacing guidelines even in containers. If a plant tag says 12 inches apart, that applies to container growing too. Yes, your newly planted container might look sparse at first, but those plants will fill in beautifully as they grow. Try the thriller, filler, spiller method for mixed containers. Choose one tall, dramatic plant, thriller, add medium-sized plants around it, fillers, and include trailing plants for the edges, spillers. Each plant has its own space and purpose. Hit the like button if you've ever been guilty of plant overcrowding. I know I have. Share your overcrowding stories in the comments. We've all been there.
Mistake number 6, watering wrong. The most common container plant killer. Watering seems simple, but it's where most container gardeners go wrong. Unlike ground plants that can search for water with extensive root systems, container plants depend entirely on you to manage their water supply. Overwatering drowns roots by cutting off their oxygen supply. Signs include yellowing leaves, mushy stems, and foul-smelling soil. Underwatering leaves plants wilted, crispy, and stressed. While plants might bounce back from occasional drought, repeated water stress weakens them permanently. The fix? Use the finger test every time. Stick your finger 2 inches deep into the soil. Dry at that depth, time to water thoroughly. Still damp? Wait another day or two. When you do water, don't sprinkle the surface. Water deeply until moisture flows from the drainage holes. This ensures the entire root system gets hydrated, not just the top inch of soil. Group containers by water needs. Keep thirsty plants like tomatoes and cucumbers together. Place drought-tolerant plants like rosemary and succulents in their own area. This prevents overwatering some plants while underwatering others. Personal story? When I first started growing herbs, I killed basil plant after basil plant by giving them tiny daily sips instead of deep, thorough waterings. The roots stayed shallow and weak. Once I switched to watering deeply but less frequently, my basil plants exploded with growth and stayed productive all season.
Mistake number 7, sunlight placement problems. Every plant has specific light requirements, but many gardeners place containers based on convenience rather than plant needs. Put a sun-loving vegetable in shade and it becomes weak and spindly. Place a shade plant in blazing sun and it gets scorched leaves and heat stress. Container gardening makes light management both easier and trickier. Easier because you can move pots around. Trickier because you must actively track how much sun each spot receives. The fix? Learn the light categories. Full sun. 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight daily. Perfect for tomatoes, peppers, most herbs, and flowering annuals. Partial shade, 3 to 5 hours of direct sun. Ideal for lettuce, spinach, and many flowering plants. Full shade, less than 3 hours of direct sun. Great for ferns, hostas, and some leafy greens. Spend one day observing your space. Check every few hours to see where sunlight hits and for how long. You'll often be surprised by how shadows shift throughout the day. Use containers' mobility to your advantage. If a plant looks unhappy, don't hesitate to relocate it. Sometimes moving a pot just 3 feet makes the difference between failure and success. Mistake number 8, ignoring seasonal container care. Many gardeners treat their containers the same way year-round, but plants' needs change dramatically with the seasons. What works in cool spring weather can kill plants during summer heat waves. Summer challenges: containers dry out faster in heat and may need daily watering. Plants also need more frequent fertilization as they grow rapidly. Winter issues: in cold climates, roots in containers are more vulnerable to freezing than ground plants. Even hardy plants can die when their roots freeze in pots. The fix is adjust your care routine seasonally. Summer means more frequent watering checks and possibly moving containers to areas with afternoon shade. Winter preparation includes insulating pots, moving tender plants indoors, and reducing watering frequency. Use the saucer trick during extreme heat. Place water-filled saucers under containers to provide extra moisture reserves. Remove saucers during cooler, wetter periods to prevent drainage problems. Mistake number 9, the rotation solution everyone misses. Here's a bonus mistake that most gardeners never even consider: failing to rotate containers regularly. When pots stay in one position, the same side of the plant receives most of the sunlight day after day. This causes uneven growth. One side becomes full and lush, while the other stays thin and weak. Plants also start leaning toward the light source, creating lopsided, unstable growth. The fix is, rotate your containers 90 degrees every week or two. This ensures all sides of your plants receive equal sunlight exposure, resulting in balanced, fuller growth. The difference is remarkable, especially with flowering plants. Instead of blooms concentrated on one side, you'll get flowers all around the plant for maximum visual impact. Challenge: take before and after photos of your plants over the next 2 weeks as you implement rotation. I guarantee you'll be amazed by the improvement in plant symmetry and fullness.
Quick review: the 9 container gardening mistakes. Let's recap these game-changing fixes. Poor drainage. Always ensure containers have adequate drainage holes. Wrong soil. Use proper potting mix, never garden soil. Incorrect container size. Choose pots 2 to 4 inches wider than root bowls. Nutrition neglect. Feed regularly with slow release and liquid fertilizers. Overcrowding. Respect spacing guidelines for healthy plant development. Watering errors. Use the finger test and water deeply but appropriately. Light placement problems. Match plants to their specific sunlight requirements. Seasonal ignorance. Adjust care routines as weather conditions change. No rotation. Turn containers regularly for balanced, even growth.
Your container gardening success starts now. Container gardening doesn't have to be frustrating or mysterious. With these 9 fixes, you have everything needed to transform struggling plants into thriving container gardens that produce abundant flowers, herbs, and vegetables. The key is implementing these changes gradually. Start with drainage and soil improvements, then work on proper sizing and placement. As you build these good habits, your success rate will skyrocket, and gardening will become the joy it's meant to be. Remember, every expert gardener started exactly where you are now. The difference between success and failure isn't natural talent, it's knowing these fundamental principles and applying them consistently. If this video helped save your plants, show your appreciation by hitting that like button right now. It helps other gardeners discover these life-saving tips too. Don't forget to subscribe to Seniors Gardening Advice and ring that notification bell so you never miss our latest plant-saving advice. We're building a community of successful gardeners who support each other's growing journey. Drop a comment below sharing which mistake you've been making and which fix you're most excited to try. I read every comment and love hearing about your gardening victories. Share this video with any friends or family members who struggle with container plants. Together, we can help more people experience the joy of successful gardening. Thanks for watching, and remember, healthy plants are just one good decision away. Keep growing, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next video here on Seniors Gardening Advice. Happy gardening!